Building speed in any sport, and in particular in soccer, is incredibly important. It's an evasion-based game. You don't want the other team to get the ball, or you want to win a race to the ball. And to be able to do that, you need speed. The faster the team, the more opportunities they're going to get, the more space they're going to have. Building speed is a number one priority for our sports performance programming. I'm going to go over really quickly some of the principles and ideas behind what we do and why we do it to build speed. So first off, speed is often confused with conditioning. We define speed as the fastest you can possibly sprint. Okay, what's your top velocity? How quick are you? Now, conditioning is the ability to repeatedly do that over the course of a game. That's slightly different in terms of building speed. Sometimes athletes, they say they want to build speed, but what they're really saying is they want to build their conditioning. They can go fast, but just not for very long in a game. And that's conditioning. Speed is building that top velocity. How fast can you possibly go when measured on lasers or measured with a stopwatch? How fast can you possibly sprint? And that means that the sprint has to be short. Okay, to build top velocity, we can't be sprinting 200, 300, 400 meters. If we're doing that, the athlete is actually not going to hit top velocity. There's a Wingate bicycle test where they put athletes on the bicycle to test their total power output. If they do a 10-second sprint, the athletes will get to top speed. If they do a 30-second sprint, they will not. They are subconsciously and implicitly just backing off a little bit on their top speed because they know if they gas out at second 10 or 11 or 12 and they have very little left, it's going to be hard for them to keep going for the rest of the time. So they just dial back just a titch. They're going really fast, but they're not hitting their top velocity. And so to build speed, there's a few key principles that we adhere to. One, we want the sprints to be short, 20 to 40 yards. Okay, even 10-yard explosive sprints are really good for building speed. Okay, and then we want to rest sufficiently between sprints. So too often in training programs, it's just sprint, sprint, sprint. We're almost, we get them tired, we got them sweating. That unfortunately is not going to build top speed because the athletes now are going to be not pushing themselves to top speed to get past their comfort zone because they know that they have to get ready for another sprint and it's coming really quick. You need to rest fully before you repeat doing another sprint. Okay. Now, we use a variety of measures when we're working on building speed. One, we time our sprints. We use lasers to time the sprints. This is awesome. It gamifies it for the kids. It allows them to see what their score is. It allows them to see when they improve. So they might feel faster, but how much faster am I actually? So we time that, and that's really good for them to be able to see. And when you do time sprints, it's a little different than when you don't time them. So if you just line up 5 athletes and have them sprint 20 yards and race, if one's kind of losing at yard 15, they might back off a little bit. If one's winning by a few feet, they might back off a little bit at yard 17 of the 20-yard sprint. But what we do is we test it. And so then it's a very objective measure. Here's how fast you are. Okay. And you're going to want to go as fast as you possibly can. It's gamified for the athlete. They want to get the best score possible. And it's kind of cool for them to be able to see, here's how fast I can sprint. Okay, a few other things that we use. We use sled sprints. So we take a sled, attach it to the athlete, and put some weight on the sled. Why do we do that? Because sled sprints force the athlete to, with each stride, push more, increase their force production on each stride. Now they're not able to move their feet as fast. Velocity comes down slightly, but force production comes up. And so we even use different weights on the sled over time. Generally, as we push up the weight, we're then increasing the amount of force that the athlete is having to produce with each stride. That will help in particular with the start of a sprint. So those first 3 to 6 strides, by doing a heavier sled, we're going to be really improving that range, that start of a sprint. Now, when we go lower, like let's say we're using only 20 to 30 pounds on a sled with a high school senior, let's say, that probably is a relatively low weight for that athlete. Now that athlete, when they use that, they're able to get pretty close to top velocity in terms of they're pushing their feet pretty fast. They're moving quickly, but they have a little bit of extra resistance. And so that's going to help us build top velocity. So that's the speed where they're at the very top of their velocity curve here. They can go as fast as they possibly can. We're trying to push that up a little bit, okay? So we use the sleds to work that whole, what's called the force velocity curve, that range there. We want the heavy sleds. We want the medium sleds. We want the lower end on there. And then obviously we sprint without any resistance as well. Third thing that we utilize are acceleration trainers. And so these attach to the athlete. And when the athlete is sprinting, another athlete is holding them back. And so they're providing resistance. And that's a pretty significant amount of resistance generally for the person that's sprinting. Now, the best part about these acceleration trainers is with one little let go of one hand, the resistance goes from whatever the athlete is providing to zero, okay? So all that resistance now that the athlete's trying to fight against when they're sprinting goes away. And now they have to move their feet very, very fast, more than they're used to, so that they don't fall forward. So it's an overspeed drill. It forces you beyond your comfort zone. In order to stay upright, you really got to move your feet. And so on that, with the acceleration trainers, yes, we're working on producing more force at the beginning with the resistance. And then what's beautiful about it is now we're working on moving our feet faster, working on the velocity of the movement. We've gotten rid of the resistance, and now you better move fast. And so it helps really teach the athletes, it's teaching their muscles to move their feet quicker, okay? The last thing that we utilize are reaction speed belts. These attach, the belts attach from one athlete to another. And then we do a variety of different agility drills where if I'm moving, one person's on offense, one on defense, and the offensive person is trying to get the connection on the belts, which is Velcro to the middle, to snap. And so they're trying to move as fast as they can, doing agility, doing some sort of race. And the defender is trying to maintain proximity to that athlete. And so if they get too far away from them, then the reaction speed belt will just unvelcro really quickly, and the offensive player won, defensive player loses, or vice versa. If the defensive player stays next to the offensive player and is able to keep up with them, then they win. The beautiful part about the reaction speed belts is it's combining not only physical speed, but anticipatory skills, which obviously are very important in sport. So it's not just your ability to be fast, it's your ability to read and react to an opponent who is also going fast. If your mind is slower than your body in that context, then you might actually be faster than someone else, but you can't anticipate their movements, and so now you're slightly behind them. So we also utilize that to bringing in the mental side of speed training as well. And these are four of the main categories of speed training that we utilize. There are some more modalities that we use, but these are really the main ones that we're looking for in our programming to help increase speed for athletes.